that's what I got.
If-
The one where you like that, you know?
If he wasn't gonna make it out this week, that's what I was gonna do.
Yeah.
And he ended up making it. I was so, because I wanna be
Yeah.
finished with that gate project this weekend. It took him less than 30 minutes, probably would've took me 3-4 hours.
Let's just say a day.
Yeah. It
It's
is
like,
Like that at my parents' house too, they live on top of a hill, so it's nothing but rock. And I remember being a kid, like going and putting the fence up. Awesome.
Yep.
I was kinda lucky too. I thought he was gonna bring the skid steer out, cause I thought he had a hydraulic postal gear. But he didn't even have to move that, cause I guess he had the tractor out up at the farm over there with a stinger on the back. It almost took him as long, I bet it took him longer to load, unload, reload, and unload.
and get there, it takes longer to get there if that's the work, yeah.
And he's only 3 miles from
Yeah.
it.
It takes a minute to load all that up. I mean,
Good,
We
you?
have to watch some videos, like we'll watch
What's
a
that?
video and
I
then
was thinking
they
Hey. Hello.
He would have gotten back into town the last few days if he's here.
Okay.
It hadn't been that long.
He's probably still gone then, because it wasn't that long ago that I saw him.
You ready, Mark? We're green.
Oh, yep. The time is 6:30. I'm filling in today. President Sean Strong is out of town, so bear with me. Doesn't look like we have any guests, so if there's no way that anyone could have signed anything that they want to speak about. So doesn't look like we have any open forum folks. Do I have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Do I have a second?
a second, don't we have to approve the agenda first?
Oh, yep, sorry. See, bear with me. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Same.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay, motion passes. No open forum. Consent agenda, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
I abstain.
Oh,
I
yep.
wasn't here.
Okay. All those opposed? Okay, motion passes.
You can just go on.
Yeah, approval of transfers and payment of bills. Are there any questions about the bills or any questions about those items? I have a motion to approve the transfer of and payment of bills.
I'll make a motion to approve the transfer and payment of bills.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Those opposed? Motion passes, thank you. Reports. Summer school report?
Ms. Peterson isn't here to report out. Do you have any questions about what was contained in her report? Be glad to answer them. If I don't have those, I'll get the answers for you.
Reports. Doesn't look like we have any. Okay, next report. Cliff.
Evening, everyone.
Great.
Just holding the fort down and trying to yell the grass caught back up since it quit raining for about 3 weeks. Our staffing and productivity is doing great. We are ahead of schedule as far as getting the building maintenance and floors and carpets and all done. Just a little ahead of schedule. We're got everybody doing extra odds and ends and dusting and high dusting and stuff that we've been wanting to get off our list. So scheduled maintenance and repairs. That pump seal did come in for the geo system, and it was installed and working great for about a week, and now it's started to leak again. Environmental engineering is going to come back. Of course, that will be no charge. But that seal was a very expensive little seal, so hopefully they can get it working. They'll be back next week to work on that. Still waiting on those motors for the field house. They are still in manufacturing. I call every week, so hopefully we will hear some answers. I actually left a message before I came up here again, so I can tell you guys some good news, but no response yet. Unscheduled maintenance and repairs. HRU1 in the elementary has failed due to a, this is going to sound funny, it's a BS box.
What's HRU1?
It would be the unit that basically controls this hallway, those offices, and all the way down to music room.
Oh, okay.
Not the gym, but that area. The BS box is what tells the valves to open and send refrigerant for heating and cooling, since it's a Daikin system. And each one of those units that you see out in the hallways has one of those BS boxes. That I do have the bid here, which I didn't have a choice but to accept. So it's a hefty penny. So now I'm looking and thinking, each one of those has one, right? So that's just throwing that out there. So if they start to fail, then might be. That one's at its life expectancy. What do we have to look forward to for that? Just wanted to give you guys a heads up there.
What does a BS box cost?
We're looking at installed $12,857.
Oh, wow.
It's about that big.
Hmm.
Something to consider as we explore options for the addition to our existing high school is that Daikin units are less expensive to install initially, but they do come with some of these issues. Typically maintenance is a little bit more expensive, and most of the repair process is proprietary. There's a lot of software in there, a lot of Daikin specific components. It's something that I'd prefer that we steered away from, and we just extended the existing traditional HVAC in this new building. It costs a little bit more up front, but $13,000 for a little control box.
And that's one in every one of these ceiling units that do get an area has one. So.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's no reason.
And then you've got it's something I think we need to steer away from also. Just because the good old fashioned split system on the roof does an area, you've got something you can hook gauges to. I've went to HVAC school, I could work on something if you didn't have to have a special box that's
Proprietary thing.
that they won't let you have. So,
Yeah.
There's a reason it's cheaper to start with.
so,
Yeah.
and the
They're getting their
program
money.
that goes
What are
with
you
that
talking about?
box.
They're totally getting their money out of it.
But moving on from that, that's the only thing I've had to actually call anything about, except for, a daily call shop and equipment, everything seems to be working fine. We did put a set of skid steer tires on that, the original on that skid steer, so it's nice not have to air them up every time you want to use it, so that's good. Contracted services, nothing really going on there, just waiting on some parts. Facilities and grounds, as you can see, I'm trying to get caught up with that. It got away from us for a little bit because we couldn't get into a lot of areas, but we're getting back on track now. So we'll have that all taken care of, hopefully tomorrow, back into shape. Still working on our summer projects. We're kind of at the end of the road on that. There's a few more that I want to do maintenance-wise, but custodial-wise, they've been doing really well. Like I said, they're ahead. We're just wrapping things up. I am looking to get try to get the parking lot striped by time school starts. That's going to, I think, just make everything look a little more pleasing aesthetically. I know that it probably needs a little more work than that, but at least it kind of dresses things up. At least you're pulling into something that obviously has been taken care of. So, and we had to push off the French drain project between the baseball field and the track just because of course, all the rain. So I think we're going to start trying to look at that maybe next week if we don't get another flood coming in. So, and I'm still waiting on some stuff back on the reimbursement from DHS as about the blood water testing. Other than that, everything seems to be, besides the BS box, everything seems to be going.
The floors in here look good.
Thank you, appreciate it. We did actually, I did have them professionally cleaned this year. I don't think they were ever professionally steam cleaned, so that was a little bit more out of pocket, but I think it was time. Some of the, with just extractors, the stains were coming up, and just
Sure.
maybe every few years we can knock that out.
I think that was worth it. It looks good.
Yeah, we did all the major areas, 5 areas. So. Thank you all. If you have any questions?
Thanks, Cliff.
Thank you. Superintendent's report.
Still in summer schedule, so not a lot going on. Had the fair this last week. Got to see a lot of students and staff during that. That's always nice. Saw quite a few of our students that were showing through FFA and 4-H, brought home some hardware, so that's always fun. I thought, I think we always do a pretty good job at the fair, but man, this year they did a lot of aesthetic improvements over there with sidewalks, and I don't know, it just felt really smooth and well done this year. I was pretty happy to participate. Looking at a back to school barbecue, and then just trying to start off the year positively. With staffing, we still have a business and an ELA opening. We've got both of them covered, so we'll be fine. But we did interview a certified ELA candidate out of St. Louis, did offer her the job, but she eventually declined, didn't want to move that far out of the St. Louis area. As of right now, we still don't have an actual applicant for the business position. In that area also with personnel and staffing, I know a couple of our adjacent districts are offering benefits to what I would call full-time, part-time staff, meaning they're part-time less than the minimum, but they come to work every day, like some of our custodians are half-time, some of our cafeteria workers are half-time. But taking a look at what we could do to offer them the same or a similar benefit package, I know as closely as Chamois, all of their kitchen staff, full-time or part-time, are compensated comparatively with our staff, but they also include benefits, the 51831. So as we look at our budget for not this year, next year, I'm going to be exploring what it would cost us to get into the competitive arena there. We did have I won't take too much because I know Aaron's going to talk to you a little bit about our Exchange Day program that we had yesterday. I sent an email out to you guys this morning. I don't know if you had a chance to read it yet, but that went incredibly well. I'm pretty proud of that entire project with you guys. So great job there. Continuing the efforts on district and campus improvement plans, and then alignment. What we're trying to do with what we train to do with execution, and then progress monitoring. Defer to Cliff for most of the maintenance stuff. We'll be working on the culvert for the back road next week. Continued bond and lease work. Of course, the track is finished, the fence is finished. Next week we'll have the lights come in. We'll be working. We We had a few issues with that one really big flash flood, maybe 2 weeks ago, that really made a pond out of the track there for about 8 hours, would you say, before that caught up. So we have a plan for that. Football Booster's been doing a great job with the press box and concessions. Folks are gonna see quite a bit of upgrades there going into next year. Thought that was really good. And then our custodial and maintenance staff is ahead of schedule compared to last year and every year for probably the last 5 or 8 years. They're doing a really good job. Summer camps and conditioning is going on. You guys have seen club football and football outside. That's been nice to see folks returning to campus after dead weeks. We did our preliminary ASBR. We are having some issues with the interface in submitting it. That's a statewide thing that DESI is having. So we're in contact with DESI there. But our ASBR actually had us ahead of where I predicted. That's partially intentional because I'm constantly overestimating expenditures and underestimating revenues. So I thought we'd be around 32. I think we're gonna be around 36%, 37% fund balance by the end of the year. So I'm pretty happy with that. We still have quite a few errors. Every year you submit your ASBR and it'll tell you errors, the system. Well, this number doesn't match this, and you make sure and recode things so the errors flush out. But so far we're ahead, and we're definitely gonna be ahead of 32. I think 34, 36% fund balance, which would be really good.
Very good.
Bond payout schedule, met briefly with Jason Hoffman a couple days ago, and it looks at our existing rate, we're looking at coming out about total $11.1 million on our $9.5 million bond. That 11.1 is conservative. We think we can do a little bit better. It wouldn't surprise me if we were in the 11.2 to 11.5 range somewhere. We're gonna meet again on Monday. He received the payout schedule Wednesday. He's gonna take a look at how we're gonna draw down and get a more specific plan, but we'll end up somewhere north of 11.1 on a $9.5 million bond. So pretty happy that gives us some breathing room in some of our projects. I've been really happy with Stiefel and Jason Hoffman with MoCap. Any questions about anything there? Or
Yeah, personnel-wise, like elementary school, are we full?
yes,
Middle school?
full.
And so the high school, we have a high school English position we do not have filled, correct?
That's
And high school business.
Yes.
It's not like we have 2 high school English teachers, period? Do they handle it all?
Yes.
They
2
will
teachers
for
do?
next year.
Is that the way it works?
Yes, we normally have 2 high school ones.
Okay, so what are we trying to fill? Do we know that yet, or are we gonna sign that after does that make sense?
We're
Like,
still
you know,
trying
like,
to fill it.
it's like the upper level stuff or what's not
We already have
covered right
everything
now?
covered. We already had everything covered by adjusting our master schedule and some of our class sizes. Now, they didn't go to 30. What's about the class size?
I wanna say the
level?
most they are at is 22.
So 22. So we still have relatively small class sizes. So some of our middle school teachers are actually certified through 9th grade, so they'll pick up some of our 9th grade classes. So we'll bump our class size.
Meaning this is a plan to absorb it if we do not hire another teacher?
Yes, and it does
Okay.
not
I
affect
would
our
rather
master
not.
schedule a ton. Now, will we need to fill it eventually? Absolutely, but for this coming school year, due to 6th grade being smaller and some other smaller classes, we can absorb it this year. Is it ideal? No, but we can make it work.
We're gonna leave it open through the whole year, and if we get a chance to sack somebody along the way that's qualified and we're interested, we're gonna fill it immediately. We're not intending to reduce one English teacher.
Wait, it's a new hire, is the other one correct? Am I wrong on this? We lost them both.
Yes,
Is that
we lost
accurate?
them both. Yeah, we have a new hire coming in that was a librarian. She's coming in to be in high school English.
We got the high school math covered, that will help.
Yes.
We do.
And then we do have somebody who is very willing to do the business as a long-term sub. And I think they'll do a phenomenal job.
She was long-term, it's Miss Sneller. She did a really good job filling in long-term with science this past year. I think she'll be able to handle the business, but we're gonna leave it open and pull the trigger on a candidate if we can find one. And if we're unlucky enough to still have that open in the November 9th timeframe, we'll be searching through teaching programs to see if we can pick up a December grad.
And
you know, everything with our English department that we have now, they've been phenomenal at taking on the extra positions or moving wherever they need to cover that. So I'm just really proud of our English department for being willing to help out and flexible.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, moving on to discussion items. First item is review handbooks, high school.
So before we dig into that, Bob wanted me to mention the exchange days that we had these last couple days. What Cammie and I and Riley came up with for our second day was we brought in different presenters for the staff. They got to actually sign up for each hour of the day for a session they wanted to attend. And it was just so cool. The teachers got to pick what they wanted to come to. They didn't have to go out for PD. It was all here on campus. And we had 4 great presenters come in. So it was just it was a fun day of learning. The staff was excited. So it was just really, really neat. We had some great presenters. So that was our exchange days. So now they can have an extra day or 2 days of spring break in the spring. So you all got to check out all the changes to our handbook. Are there any questions? Do you want me to go over the changes or just answer any questions you have? Totally up to you.
I didn't have any questions.
No questions.
The changes made sense to me.
Yeah, and actually this year we were excited. The leadership team got together, they went over the handbook, and these were all the changes that they decided to make, and it was a lot less than last year, so we're on the right track. If there are no questions, if you have any, just let me know.
Oh, I got a question for you, but
Oh, yes.
not about handbooks.
Okay.
Tell me about the speaker that you had.
Which one?
Um,
We had 3 different ones, or 4
The-
different ones.
Mr. Varner?
Josh.
Yes, Josh Varner.
Several people commented about that.
Yes.
That was very useful, so.
He is versed in the trauma-informed learning piece of it. I didn't get to go to as many of his as I wanted to, but just talking to staff about where students come from, some of their backgrounds, and then how to help those students whenever they come into our building, because you're amazed at how many students come in. They present as just, hey, an average everyday student, but the trauma that they could have had when they were younger at any point, and then just teaching the teachers how to deal with that in the classroom. That's kind of what he was there for, and he did 3 different sessions during the day, talked about 3 different things. Oh my gosh, he was phenomenal. I mean, the teachers walked out just excited about the school year, about everything that he talked about. It was really cool.
That's good. It's always good when you find a guest speaker that's effective.
Exactly. No, they were very excited about that piece.
Good. Thank you. Bond update?
Yep, we've had a lot of surveying done over the last several weeks. Had several bi-weekly planning meetings. That's mostly to coordinate contractors coming on. And a lot of that has to do with the surveying and the topography, marking out a lot of the infrastructural lines, electrical, mechanical, plumbing stuff that we're gonna have to deal with. We'll take a look at the geotechnical and material testing contracts, or those bids here in a minute. Of course, I did want to mention, I've had a couple of questions too since one more since I wrote this, asking why we did the track and the fence and we were working on the lights. But the first question was, well, hey, I thought we were going to do a playground. Why are we doing that before the playground? So I am dealing with that. Most people don't understand the difference in timing and scheduling and requirements for lease purchase projects versus bond. The first question that we had was actually before our bond sales even occurred, before we even closed on them. So those things won't fund or didn't fund until July. So we are ahead on our track and stadium work, but that's exactly why we went the lease purchase route, because we could pull the trigger on those very, very quickly. Outside of that, I jumped again a little bit in my board report. Bond sales finished up July 1. That is a typo there. It's 10,438, just $10,438,000 and some change. We'll earn a little bit over $40,000 a month in interest at 5.12. So that'll put us at 11.1 conservatively. We'll begin drawing those funds down in smaller increments as we pay for services, planning, design, that sort of thing. Conservatively, we'll be at 11.1. If we got to 11.5, that'd be great. It's an extra $2 million we have to spend on projects. But we're just continuing the work, bidding and contracting through this fall, designing, you'll see a lot of that come through as we make decisions this fall, and then we're still on track to break ground next spring, March, April timeframe. We did move the bids because of the schedule. Our bidding timeframe, or that bidding range, was gonna land right over the holidays, so we adjusted that a couple weeks to miss Christmas. It won't have any effect on when we break ground for things, but we are gonna delay that so we can get as much interest as we can versus competing with the holidays, but we're just moving forward with that. Any questions?
Where does everything stand on the last month we passed, our agreement on which building code we were gonna.
Great question.
We were gonna utilize the 2012 building code. Where does that stand at this point?
Dr. Strong and I addressed the commissioner, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks ago now. They were generally supportive, but that had to pass by their legal counsel. So that will have to go through Amanda's office, and she's, of course, representing the county in that. We will receive some sort of response from her, whether that's legally possible or not, and I would expect that at any moment.
Okay. So we're thinking it's likely, but.
Yes.
Okay.
And they would just essentially be granting us an exception.
Okay. Cool. Next discussion item is August board meeting.
We've talked about this before. We realize that if we have it on the 13th, and we can, we just wanted you guys to know that if we have it on the 13th, we'll miss the timing for payroll and payroll checks. If you guys are still agreeable to having it on the 13th, but we could have a couple board members swing by to sign checks for payroll later that week, or just later that week, we would need to have that done so we don't delay payroll checks going out. If we're agreeable there, then no change is necessary, but we wanted to present the option.
So the 13th or the 15th?
Well, it was the 15th, but we moved it because of open house.
Okay.
But it's early for payroll for me, so.
And the 20th is the first day of school?
19th.
19th.
No, the
19th
20th.
is the 20th.
19th is my first day.
That's right, I'm thinking of Monday.
Yeah, 19th is Monday, Tuesday is the 20th. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. It's also, it almost looks to me like the way that the month falls, I would almost expect the meeting to be the following week anyway.
Just odd where that first Thursday hits.
Mhm.
It's just early.
Yeah. What if we did the 22nd? Is that okay or too late?
But, I mean, payroll's the next day, which is, I mean, I can still make it work, so.
I'm trying to think historically how that usually works with board meeting in the first days of school. I mean, I guess it's okay if we have a board meeting and it's after school has started.
We'll do it the rest of the year.
Well, yeah, I mean, thanks. I'm just trying to talk through this.
The week of the 13th, I'm out all week, so it's up to you guys.
The week of the,
That week, the 15th or whatever, I'm out that whole week. Which
Okay.
is not a big deal.
do we have any idea about Sean's availability? Guess we
I don't.
I can do the 22nd.
You can do the 22nd? Let's plan on doing the 22nd then.
All right.
Unless anybody has any objections.
Thank you.
Mhm. Okay. So moving on to action items. First item is set tuition rate for the upcoming school year.
Yes, sir. We're required to set the tuition rate each year or annually. We did so last year, initially approving it at $3,000 for the first student and $1,000 each additional in July, but then we revised that in November to $2,000 for the first student and $500 each additional student, which has worked for us and has garnered some interest. So we think that strategy has been successful. Open to what your perspective is as far as keeping it the same or changing it in some way.
I think as we're still kind of testing this out, we should probably keep it as what we sold it as.
How many, do we have any students participating? Yes.
We do.
Okay.
If between
Six.
6 that have already paid, but I anticipate with the interest that's been, we'll probably land somewhere between 10 and 15 that actually, they don't have to pay until registration to do that. So we'll probably land somewhere between 10 and 15 students. We won't know until they show up and they register and submit their tuition payment.
That's got to be more than we've ever had.
It
Right,
is.
that's got, I mean, we've never had that.
I'm the same.
Surely, no way.
We've had a few here and there, but we've not had that many in 1 year.
I was a proponent for lowering it to start with, so I would like to keep it the same.
Do I have a motion to,
Do we need one?
do we need to make one? If we're just keeping it the same?
Keep it same, do we need, is there action needed?
Yep, you'll still need to approve
Okay.
a tuition rate for this year.
I'll make a motion to keep the current tuition rate for 2023 for the school year 24-25. Does that work?
That works. A second.
Any other discussion?
Is there, we looking at like loss or anything like that? Is that costing us anything?
Well, anytime we lose a student, it causes tuition, or I'm sorry, formula payment. Having
Right.
said that, we lost a handful to homeschool last year, and we've already been contacted this summer, I would say by 3 to 5 that went homeschool at some point for some reason, but are now coming back to us this coming year. So our majority that we lost, I don't know if we went over this before you came in or not, Brett, but we lost about 18 or 19 at the high school. These are old numbers. Of those 18 or 19, the vast majority, probably 85 plus, were attendance issues that they eventually withdrew completely, signed a homeschool document. Outside of that, we had quite a few that we lost at the middle school that we investigated kind of student by student. The vast majority of them were circumstantial, and we lost 2 or 3 in one family to Holt Summit, for instance. Parents got a different job, so they moved. So we'll remain steady, slightly increase from last year to this year. Again, we won't know until registration happens.
I'm just saying with the tuition rate and the cost per student, is there, by doing what's that, 2,000? What's our cost, what's our tuition rate right now?
2,000 first student, 500 each additional student.
Right, okay, per family. And then, and we don't get paid for that from the state, obviously, for
Right.
everything else. So we normally pull in about, what, 7,500 per kid?
Depending on the rate, next year it'll be 6760
Okay.
per kid.
That's what I was talking about, the loss, how many kids? we paid?
Oh, well, you don't really lose until you have a resource increase that requires you to pay more. So providing education for, say, a 22 student average size classroom is about the same as a 24 average student classroom.
I was just thinking that the loss of money, they're not living in the district, so I'm fine with leaving it the same.
You're saying the discrepancy between the amount we're gonna get just for
Right.
the,
That
having a kid in
$4,000 per
attendance
kid.
versus what we're
And then
charging
what
a
we're
kid
paying
is what
our
you, yeah, I
teachers,
see what you
we're paying
mean.
for the facility and we're paying for all the stuff.
There's a pretty big gap there. I get it, but like, I guess the point I made, and that doesn't represent all of us, I mean, like, you kind of made some changes and you'd like to go ahead and draw folks, and I'd just like to not see a tuition be an impediment. And just if you crank your tuition up, we're just gonna lose them. They're not coming anyway.
Right.
You know, we're gonna lose the money regardless, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna lose, if
Five
that's
kids-
what you're talking about,
5 kids
incurring
are-
a loss.
5 kids are one thing, 10 kids are another thing. If it's 25 kids,
Well, yeah,
then
no,
it's-
Then we might need to revisit it.
It's costing taxpayers a lot of money to pay for that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
that's
there
all-
will
that's
be-
all I- That's all I was trying to say.
There will be a breaking point
Right.
where we have to adjust tuition because we'll have to adjust staffing and resources.
And so we'll know the numbers after school starts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I guess all those in favor of the motion and the second to adopt the existing tuition rates, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. Next item, set milk and lunch prices.
We're still running a positive food nutrition account, which means we're bringing in more than we're paying out. We have actually quite a bit. So the recommendation is to maintain lunch, breakfast, and milk prices because we can afford it. Quite honestly, we're still doing well. If we can shield our families from incurring the increase, if at all possible, I'd like to do that.
It's nice to have one thing that isn't going up right now. Is the milk and the lunch prices, is that all one motion, I guess?
Yes.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adopt the milk and lunch prices for the next school year?
I move we keep the milk and lunch prices consistent for next year.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. Approval and date and time for tax rate hearing.
We have to set a tax rate hearing each year. Typically, what we've done in this district is set that in direct proximity to our August meeting. And for at least my time here and the year before that, we set the tax rate hearing for 6:30 p.m. Now it would be August 22nd, should we choose to do that, with the regular board meeting immediately to follow.
Is any discussion?
Still start at 6:30.
Yes, sir.
Do I have a motion to set the tax rate hearing date?
I'll make a motion to set the tax rate hearing for August 22nd at 6:30.
A second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. Geothermal bid.
So I attached the memo from Navigate. After reviewing all the bids, the recommendation was to accept ES&S's proposal for geotech and material handling. The only thing that I thought maybe was a curveball in their proposal that might be interesting is it was a little bit higher, but that's because they were also proposing quite a few more test drill holes that we may not need, and it's likely to not need in the long run. If you adjust for that, then they're very competitive and attractive, and felt like they had the best running track record. And we had a couple of references in North Callaway and Cole County that said that they were great to work with.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion to approve the geothermal bid?
I'll make a motion to approve the bid from ES&S.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
All right. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the geothermal bid from ES&S, please raise your hand. All those opposed? Motion passes. Our next meeting then will be August 22nd, preceded by the annual tax hearing. 6:30, same location, this room. Do I have a motion to adjourn to closed session?
I move we adjourn to closed session pursuant of RSMO 610.021 ASD subsections 13 relative personally identifiable employment information and 3 personnel actions.
I'll second.
Need a second?
All those in favor, please raise, right?
I think you roll call that.
Roll call?
Or
Yeah,
Sean
that's-
always roll calls that one.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Brad?
Yes.
Lori?
Yes.
Naomi? Brett?
Yes?
Jamie?
Yes.
Okay, I'm a yes.
So much pressure.